fans and cheer in this podcast palace. We got the atmosphere. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the sound of the lost, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York prick rising to the top. Feel it loud. Electric sound with every single word. We never gonna frown. From the Midline Giants to the Madison Square. Bobo and Cramer, yeah, this man begin it air. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the sound to last, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit. They're rising to the top. Feel alive. Bobo and Cramer leading the way, raging plastic side, shout it out loud. In the Bessie in the house, we're rocking the crowd. In the Bessie in the house, we're rocking the crowd. In the Bessie in the house, we're rocking the crowd. In the Bessie in the house, we're rocking the crowd.
And that's right, everybody. We are here live right after the United States came through and defeated Team Canada once again in the Olympic Winter Games. The United States women's hockey team has brought home the gold after another thrilling overtime victory against Team Canada. And that's right. The home of the brave is 100% accurate. The United States women went out there.
USA!
Yes.
USA! USA!
USA! They did it again. The third time in history the United States women have taken home the gold in the women's hockey. They took home the gold in 1998. They did it again 20 years later in 2018. Both times beating Canada in the final. In 1998, they beat them 3-1. In 2018, they beat them 3-2 in overtime. Then they lost, actually, in 2022. They lost the gold medal game in overtime 3-2, coming away with the silver. But the United States did not go away empty-handed today. They took home the gold with a 2-1 incredible win. You know, the U.S. women were so dominant, Dan, in this tournament. Coming into this game today, they were 6-0 and had outscored their opponents up by a combined score of 31-1. They were averaging basically 6 goals or 5 goals a game and had only given up 1 goal. And it was in their first game. Really just incredible run these women had. And you just kind of had a feeling at some point they were going to break through. And finally, late they did. Their captain put the goal in to tie it with the Chris Kreider-like deflection in front of the net. And then in overtime, they end up taking the game there. So what'd you think, Dan, after an incredible job by the U.S. women?
That was just such an exciting sporting event, and I think this is our first time that we were able to celebrate a championship on air. It's the first time we here will celebrate, and that was just such an exciting game. And also in that game, it's also note what a way for one of the greatest players in the history of women's hockey, Hillary Knight, being able to retire on a high note like that. That was just such an incredible game, just such an incredible win. I was jumping up on seat. I was high-fiving my mom. my mom, and you know who else was happy about that win? My mom.
You know who I feel sorry for? My mom! Oh!
Well, we definitely feel sorry for the Canadians because they did have a great game, no doubt about it. They were up 1-0. They were 2 minutes away from the gold medal, but the U.S. women, much like the Undertaker, came back from the dead and tied the game and then won it in overtime. So great job by the U.S. women, phenomenal job by them. Really exciting game throughout. So let's hope the next Olympics will actually be 2030 now. So it'll be interesting to see what the women's team looks like at that point. But this team continued to get it done with another great performance there. So congratulations to them. Let's just hope that the men can follow that up with a similar performance because, we know that the U.S. women's team did get the win today to secure their third gold medal of all time. The U.S. men are looking to capture a gold medal themselves, and they're going to be at the semifinal tomorrow at 3:10 p.m. against Slovakia. Slovakia, obviously, a good team, no doubt about it. So it'll be real interesting, Dan, to see what this looks like tomorrow. It was a tight game against Sweden to get here in the quarterfinal. The Rangers' own Mika Zibanejad ties the game with about 2 or 3 minutes left. And it was the same situation that the Canadian women faced today. They were up 1-0 basically for most of the game, and then they tied up late. But the only difference is that the U.S. men were able to get the job done in overtime, and with Quinn Hughes scoring the goal. Just a terrific goal by him. A terrific job by the U.S. Men's team yesterday. And hey, it's going to all come down to getting the job done tomorrow and setting another rematch against the Canadian team for the U.S. men's gold medal game now.
Yeah, this has just been an exciting tournament. It's been me yelling at the TV a lot. That game yesterday, no joke. I was dropping Pete Alonso level of F-bombs after that win.
Yeah, it was a hell of a game yesterday too. It was, it really is crazy when you look at it too. The women's today, it's 3-on-3 for a 20-minute period. That the cardio, that you have to do in that, the shape that you have to be in, the amount of work it takes to be able to compete at a high level in that environment just shows how well conditioned these athletes are. And the men got it done in overtime yesterday. The women got it done in overtime today for the gold medal. So the men are looking to now keep that in line and follow suit and get it done tomorrow. Hopefully, we don't have to do it in overtime against Slovakia because it's definitely nerve wracking with everything on the line right now. But hey, as long as they get the job done tomorrow, then it's the only thing that matters.
Yep, exactly. Celebrating the win and probably that bird that I've been babysitting. I've been babysitting a bird for. Someone's been paying me to. I was paid to babysit a bird. Someone paid my mom and I to babysit a bird, and we're babysitting.
So what kind of bird?
This bird, I believe, from all accounts I've heard from the bird's human, is a species of bird called a lovebird, and this thing.
Bird?
Yeah, it's an actual species of bird. It's a lovebird. And this thing just chirp, and the chirps just get stuck in my head. Like this bird is like in a living room. It's like challenging me to staring contest. This feathered lady it's a female bird. Is just challenging me to staring contest. It's apparently a dunker because I've seen this bird. I swear she's like picks up like some of her like little food or whatever it is she's eating, and dunks it in her water and then eats it. The bird's a dunker.
Wow. Is she a double dipper though? Is she a double dipper?
I haven't seen her double dipping, but this bird that I'm babysitting is a dunker. And I texted that.
Fair enough.
And I texted that to the bird's human, by the way, and that bird's human responded with a laughing emoji because that bird's human knows Seinfeld. The bird's owner knows Seinfeld, so the bird's owner was laughing when I said, "Oh, your bird's a dunker," is what I said, and they knew what it was talking about, and that bird may have been chirping a little bit when I was going nuts yesterday because it heard me in the living room. It just starts chirping up a storm.
I can see that he's chirping up too. The you gotta love that. Or the bird getting into the action too, celebrating with you.
Yeah, and correction, the bird's a she, it's a female.
Well, I mean, either way, it's gender neutral, as they say.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, it's been chirping along, and I swear, even after that bird returns to its owner, the chirps are going to get stuck in my head because I've been hearing them a lot.
I can see that. So, I like that little detour though, letting the audience know about your bird sitting duties. So very cool. Also too, so we got the U.S. And Slovakia tomorrow, Dan. The big game. The winner will play that early morning gold medal game. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. And it's going to be a very good run. The U.S. has had a really great run over the last 20 years of producing really good Olympic teams and just having a really great development program. So I really hope that comes to fruition tomorrow, because right now the U.S. has played a really great tournament. And the other thing to keep in mind, too, that does hurt Team Canada if we do get to a gold medal game, Dan, and if Canada gets there, too, because let's not forget, Canada still has to beat Finland. So even if the U.S. does beat Slovakia, it could still either be Finland or Canada in that gold medal game. Assuming Canada does win, they're not going to have Sidney Crosby, it looks like, too. Sidney Crosby suffered a lower body injury in the tournament, and that's going to be a big, detriment to the Canadian team, because we all know, say what you want, the guy might be in his mid to late 30s now, but Sidney Crosby is still a hell of a player and makes a big difference when he's on the ice.
Yeah, that's true. He's probably an excellent player, and he's become hockey royalty as much as we root against him all these years. Believe me, especially during the NHL season, how all those years of us yelling at the Zebras favoring him and stuff. But you got to tip your hat to this guy, and in the end, he'll be looked at as hockey royalty.
He will, and already is too. Sidney Crosby, I mean, say what you want, we could call him a crybaby, we could take our shots at him if we want, much like we did with, any great players you share division with. I remember until he became a Ranger, a lot of Rangers hated Eric Lindros. Obviously, Yager, when he was with the Pittsburgh Penguins, always got the ire of Ranger fans. But, you come around to respect them, even the ones that don't join your team, like Mario Lemieux. We hated going up against him, but you have to respect him. And Sidney Crosby is in the realm of every player I just mentioned, including a guy I didn't mention named Wayne Gretzky. Now, he's not going to be on that offensive level Gretzky was, because let's be honest, nobody was. But Sidney Crosby is damn close. And for a lot of us, he's our generation's, even though I'm lucky enough, and you are too, Dan, because we're around the same age, where we got to see a lot of Wayne Gretzky. We don't remember the early best of the best of Gretzky, but we at least got to see a lot of Wayne Gretzky's career, and both of us got to see Sidney Crosby's entire career. So while Crosby might not be on the level of Gretzky, he's still one of the greatest players of all time, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yep, exactly. I agree. And as someone, I'm probably a couple of years older than you, born in '82, so I got to see a lot of these guys in hockey in their prime over the years in hockey, and I can tell you, doesn't it feel weird when you go into like a Hall of Fame and you see retired numbers, and you see guys amongst retired numbers and in the Hall of Fames that you remember in their prime, and in a lot of cases you remember them as rookies. Doesn't that feel weird?
It definitely does. It definitely does, man. So we're definitely getting to that age now where the guys going to the Hall of Fame. We're almost at that age now where the guys going to the Hall of Fame are going to start being younger than us, and then it's really going to be crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's gonna feel weird. Hopefully, eventually. I know he's no longer a Met, but I mean, eventually, we're probably gonna see Pete Alonso maybe in a Hall of Fame if he keeps up the numbers he's been putting up. That's gonna feel weird. That's gonna make me feel really old seeing that.
It's true. It's true, and you never know. You never know, man. So
And then the other
so
one I gotta say, that's gonna make me feel really old because I got to be at the NFL draft when it happened. When Eli Manning eventually gets into the Football Hall of Fame, that one's gonna really make me feel old because that seems like yesterday. I was at NFL draft watching it happen in the audience. I was at Super Bowl 46 when the Giants beat the Patriots the second time. So it's like that one's gonna really make me feel old.
yeah, no doubt about it, man. And that will happen one day, no doubt about it. What won't happen one day, Dan, as let's shift our focus away from the hockey now to a little bit of baseball. We got some spring training to get into, as Steve Cohen's been making note a lot lately, as he's been giving a lot of interviews with the newspaper, and he spoke to Howie Rose last week for the Mets website and everything. However, really interesting to me, Dan, is that Steve Cohen put out that the Mets will never have a captain underneath him. Francisco Lindor came out and commented on this and said he agrees. So there's no reason to set a captain. Leaders can still lead without having the official title of captain. I really don't have a problem with it because, I mean, let's be honest, there's really only one captaincy in Major League Baseball that matters, and that's the New York Yankees captaincy. And there's only two captains in baseball right now, that being Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees and Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals. So it's not really a common thing to have captains in baseball anyway. The Mets have a very short history of it. Hernandez and Carter shared it in the late 80s. Obviously, Johnny Franco, for some strange reason, was given the captaincy in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And the obviously David Wright being the captain from about 2012 to the end of his career. So, that all makes a lot of sense to me, Dan. I, however, have to say I do think it's odd. You talked about this on our Patreon show, which, by the way, if you want to subscribe, it's patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast, and it's only $5. But we were talking about this on Patreon the other day, where I totally respect him saying that, especially for the way the team is constructed right now. Maybe you don't want to, name a captain right now. Makes sense. However, I think it is kind of odd that he painted himself into a corner that, you never know. Maybe the Mets do draft their own version of Derek Jeter, or maybe the Mets do draft their own version of some slam dunk Hall of Famer that stays there for his whole career. It's kind of odd to me that Steve Cohen would paint himself in that corner of saying, yeah, we're just never going to name a captain.
It's an odd one. I can't really make much of it because I think it feels like just a random thing, not a big thing. The big question is Steve Cohen going to go all in if the Mets are right there if we're in the thick of it, are we going to go all in and actually take the risk for once? That's risk that's needed, because let's face it, you really got to win. Sometimes you got to take that big risk.
Well, what risk are you talking about?
No, like let's say there's a pitcher at the trade line. Maybe we need to, pay up a big extension to like a Tyler Schoolbowl or something like that.
Well, Scooble's not going to sign an extension in season. There's no way that's going to happen. And if Detroit is contending, which for the most part, as much as I would love to see them fall out of it and him become a trade candidate, I think Detroit's got a pretty good team. And they added Framber Valdez. They also added Justin Verlander. So he's 42 or 43 years old, but can still pitch decently. He pitched decently last year for the Giants, just pitching a lot of bad luck. So Detroit's got a pretty good team. I wouldn't sit here and count them to be out. And I know what you mean. He's got to go for the swing, but let's be honest. He did give Juan Soto a 15-year contract. So that's a pretty damn good big swing. And I also give them a lot of credit. They just signed Boba Fett to over $40 million a year. And on top of that, they did, the Freddie Peralta trade, which hurt from a prospect standpoint, giving up a guy like Jet Williams, who you love, and Brandon Sprout. But hey, he went out there and got us an ace. So as much as I understand the criticisms, we do have to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, exactly. And another key thing is that when this guy's a free agent, because Peralta's going to be a free agent, that's a little bit far ahead, but they got to be willing to take the big swing on this, especially during the off season. They need to be able to willing to make the big swing when it comes to pitching. I feel like, because that is the kind of thing that I feel like that's the most key element that into winning a championship. We saw it with the Dodgers; they took a big swing on that. I forget his name. I forget his name. That pitcher that was the World Series MVP. I forget his name.
Who?
No, that
the Dodgers this year. Oh, you mean Yamamoto?
Yeah, Yamamoto. Yeah, I was just having a little brain fart. But they took a big swing at it. The Mets need to be willing to do that.
Yeah, and the Mets were in the mix for that. They basically finished second for Yamamoto. But the fact is, I mean, you criticized them for this at the time. The Mets were only willing to match what the Dodgers did. The Dodgers offered $325 million. The Mets offered $325 million. Yamamoto is 25 years old. Everybody knew he was the next big thing, so it didn't surprise anybody the way he pitched for the Dodgers this postseason. So our criticism at the time was that the Mets should have said, okay, hey, if they're going to give you 325, we're going to give you 400. We're at least going to make it a tough decision for you to make. But that was our criticism of the Mets at the time. But I do think they, aside from the fact that they have let, and I will not let this go too, they have let Edwin Diaz, Pete Alonso, and Jacob deGrom leave over the last couple of years. But I think in a lot of ways they did rebound. And this offseason is going to be the big test too, Dan, because I think right now the Mets have their sights set on Tariq Skubal in the offseason. But it could also be Freddie Peralta too. If Freddie Peralta, Freddie Peralta is either going to be the guy that gets them through this year, and then the Mets say thank you very much and let him walk in the offseason and try to sign Tariq Skubal, or if Freddie Peralta has a big year here and the Mets do see fit, I could see. I don't see anything getting done during the season, but I do see if maybe the Mets see like Skubal's not going to come here, maybe Skubal signs an extension with the Tigers at some point, then I would say the Mets could bring Freddie Peralta back. But I do think one of those two guys will be in the Mets rotation next year, either Skubal or Peralta. And I highly doubt it would be both, although it would be crazy if that did happen.
Yeah, that would be. But yeah, the Mets need to just be able to just go all out and really prove that, put their money where their mouth is when they say they want to develop that same track record that the Dodgers have had the last couple of years. They need to finally put their money where their mouth is and do and also, of course, do whatever it can when these like big international free agents show up. They need to make the Mets an attractive place to be.
Yeah. Well, the Mets went 0 for everything on the international guys this year. Akamoto and everybody else went to different spots, which hurt the Mets, and really angered us fans before the Mets really started getting moving with the Boba Fett move and everything like that. So, and then obviously the Peralta move. So, we got to give them credit where credit's due, but they also do deserve to be criticized. One thing I do really like, Dan, is that the Mets did go out there and make a big signing. I wonder if I'm not sure if I spelled his name right. Let me double check right now. But the Mets actually went out and signed Mike Tauchman, the outfielder for he came up with the Rockies. He used to play with the Yankees. I did actually spell his name wrong. It's an A, not an O. So I'll make that change. But yeah, so Mike Tauchman signs with the Mets. And this is a good move, Dan, because I think there's a lot of different ways the Mets can break camp right now, where obviously Carson Benj is a guy that they're really trying to lean on this spring and see if he can stand up and grab that that right field spot, because one thing that we also haven't mentioned on the show that the Mets dropped the bomb on us last week is that Juan Soto is moving to left field this year. So Soto's going to be in left. So right field is the spot where they got to get guys like Brett Beatty and Tyrone Taylor and now Mike Tauchman and Carson Benj, that those at bats are going to come from that spot for the most part. Tauchman's good though, Dan. One thing about him is that he's got a good eye at the plate. He's a vet. He's 34, 35 years old. So he's just a good veteran to have off the bench. Spent the last 3 years in Chicago, 2 with the Cubs, 1 with the White Sox, which was last year. So he's played in a big baseball market, although for a really bad team last year. But I think this is a good depth move. I think it takes a little pressure off the Mets for having to be forced to put young guys on this roster that aren't ready, that could use a little bit more time in the minor leagues. Because Carson Benj this spring, to me, is going to either show us, okay, yeah, he's a slam dunk ready to go to the major leagues right now, or we're going to look at this guy and say, yeah, you know what, I think he needs a little bit more seasoning in the minors. So, because let's not forget, he's only played a handful of games at the AAA level. Most of his at-bats came last year in AA. So, if he does need Carson Benj, if he does need a little bit more time in the minor leagues, a month or 2 down there next year, it's not the worst thing in the world to have Mike Tauchman come up here and be a good veteran presence on this team.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that's going to be looking at spring training, I feel like McLean's going to have a lot of eyes in spring training because he's going to have to stretch himself out earlier to have enough time to be ready for the season because of how much taking part in the WBC is going to take from that, having a normal off season. That one kind of gets me a little nervous how McLean's going to turn out, because I'm surprised he did doing this his technically like almost on his own sort of rookie year doing this rather than just having a normal spring training and stretching himself out, and he's and that putting him in a situation where he's got to ramp himself up early. I hope this turns out well, because it's getting that part's getting me nervous.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. So it's going to all come down to how the Mets handle him and what we see him do at the WBC. A couple of more things on baseball. Obviously, Mets and the Yankees do open up this weekend. A couple of things I did want to get to, but before that, I did not want to forget this, Dan. I want to get your take on Tony Clark, who's been the head of the MLB Players Association for more than a decade now and has done a pretty good job. Has been forced out. He resigned as his role of the head of the MLBPA. A very interesting turn of events. First, there were rumors and everything that he had improperly used funds for the MLBPA, which I found very odd because he's a former player. He definitely has money, but I guess that's something that could play a role in it too. But then it also came out, so I'm not sure exactly if the improper funds thing was even true, but it turned out that the main reason why he's being forced out is because he had an improper relationship with his sister-in-law, who he hired to do work for the MLBPA. So because, you're not allowed to carry on an intimate relationship with somebody in working in a professional manner like that for the MLBPA, it reflects poorly on that, and can be seen that she was given special treatment and hired for that reason. So that whole thing aside, now Tony Clark is out. His whole thing with the sister-in-law has been outed, and it's a very messy situation for the MLBPA, Dan. And let's not forget, the big thing that hangs over our head is the MLB work stoppage that can go into effect at the end of this year in December. Tony Clark not being there, that makes a big difference for MLBPA, Dan. He's been the one working on this deal. He worked on the last deal. So now they're going to have to throw somebody in there that has cold feet, doesn't know what really is going on. And I'm telling you, Dan, the owners are going to smell blood in the water.
Yeah, why the heck did he have to do this and freaking mess up baseball and put herself in an even more likely situation of dealing with a lockout and us potentially next year turning into a minor league podcast for the duration of however long the stoppage goes.
Yeah, it could be a very hockey and basketball heavy product next year. Maybe we'll be talking more about the March Madness tournament than we've ever done, because usually during March we're talking about baseball spring training and getting ready for opening day and everything. And we do touch on the March Madness a little bit, but that's not really in our wheelhouse. But yeah, man, it could definitely be a lot of that next year. Which, by the way, Dan, isn't it crazy? Talking about March of this year now, next month, March 10th to be exact, is our 4-year anniversary of doing the show. Isn't it crazy? We've been doing this for 4 years now.
That is crazy. Time has gone by quick. It feels like you know the funny part? 4 years ago, we were talking about an MLB work stoppage that scared me.
That's right.
What the heck are we going to do? Why we launched this show and we're not going to have baseball to talk about come baseball season? Like, how the heck are we going to do this? Are we going to just cover minor league games once it becomes April?
That's you're 100% right. Our first show, we were talking about the MLB work stoppage. So you're 100% right, because it wasn't until about maybe 2 weeks later that they came to the agreement. So episode 3, we were talking about how the deal was done, but the first episode or two that we were doing of this show, was talking about the MLB work stoppage. You're right. So we're at 207 now. So about 205 episodes later, we're in a year now where we could be facing another work stoppage.
Yeah, and I swear, you know what we might have to do if there's a MLB work stoppage that bleeds into the season, we might have to temporarily take a page from the Al Bundy playbook and start a nudie bar league. With teams in the MLB markets sponsored by local strip clubs.
We could do that. We could definitely do that. No doubt about it, man.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we'd be on that league's equivalent to the Mets. Because there'd be 2 teams. Because the MLB market has 2 New York teams, and we'd be on one of those teams. I don't know what strip club would sponsor the team, but if it's like the episode, you know what episode of Married with Children I'm talking about, right?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. But so if it's like the episode, a strip club would sponsor the team.
That would be great. That'd be a great idea, man. All right, now just keep it rolling along with the Yankees now, Dan. As obviously Mets and the Yankees are both opening this weekend. Mets' first game is going to be on Saturday against the Marlins at 1:10. The Yankees' first game is going to be on Friday, actually, against the Orioles. We were talking about it's going to be Pete Alonso's debut in Sarasota. Interesting things coming out over the last couple of days for the Yanks. They did make a signing, actually, much like the Mets did, to improve their depth. The Yankees did bring in former Met Rafael Montero. I was actually at his major league debut.
Same here. I was at that game. Too.
And Rafael Montero, a terrific. He was the guy that people were saying was going to be what Jacob deGrom turned into. Is what people were saying about Montero when he was a prospect. So interesting, man. He's still hanging around the league, and you got to give him credit.
Yeah, I got to give credit. And the funny thing is, the next day after his debut was when Jacob deGrom made his MLB debut, and I ended up at the last minute. Ended up being someone couldn't go and passed on tickets to me to that game, so I ended up seeing a debut that under the radar kind of turned out to be something. Turned out to be what was the big thing, because I remember there was people didn't really know anything about that deGrom, and he just turned out to be something that panned out, ended up winning Rookie of the Year. I mean, I remember the day before Montero. This was like a big deal. Montero's debut. I was at this game, and I realized the game I had ticket to. I have a ticket to his debut, so I still remember that. And I remember seeing this guy we were saying it about him even in the Futures game at City Field. He was in that Futures game with the Noah Syndergaard when they were prospects. Crazy thing is, there was a pretty notable prospect. Well, he wasn't a Mets prospect then, but a young Francisco Lindor was also in that Futures game. If you want to look back at that 2013 Futures game.
Yeah, that's right. And all these years later, Rafael Montero is back in the big leagues. I'm sorry, he's been in the big leagues, but he's been back in New York now, pitching for the Yankees. So interesting stuff there. He'll be a good part in that bullpen too. Also, really interesting. Aaron Judge basically called out the Yankees offseason as brutal and tough to watch. Really, really surprising from Judge. You don't really hear these kind of criticisms come from him. He's been very Jeter-like in that manner where he has not criticized the organization publicly. So I can understand him, feeling this way privately, but to express that to the media is very strange, especially when the Yankees still have a good team. They won 94 games last year. They're getting Garrett Cole back. They have one of the best starting pitching staffs in baseball. And not to mention that they re-signed Cody Bellinger and gave him $160 million to be protection in the lineup behind Aaron Judge. So I understand what he's saying, that, yeah, you're basically coming back with the same team. But I don't understand what the big criticism is. How is this offseason brutal for the Yankees? You could argue from a certain standpoint, the offseason was brutal for the Mets because they lost Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso, despite the fact of all the good stuff they brought in. But for the Yankees, especially for the Yankee captain, to refer to this offseason as brutal is very strange to me.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck happened. What did he do? Did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Because I'm just a Mets fan, and I'm surprised. I never would expect to see Aaron Judge say that. Like, I don't know, something must have really rubbed him the wrong way. But that's something that only Aaron Judge knows, and none of us will know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Yankees too, that's got to worry you a little bit because you don't want to piss off your best player, but also you could sit here if you're the Yankees and rationalize, like, what is he talking about? We still have a pretty damn good team either way. And real interesting insight to Yankees fandom and how the Yankees themselves are taking this is that Michael Kay, who we all know is, one of the biggest Yankee homers out there, even he called out Aaron Judge's comments as passive aggressive, which he's right about, that they really are kind of weird passive aggressive shot at the Yankees when it really wasn't. He didn't really need to take that.
Yeah, this is a rare time. I agree with Michael Kay, and believe me, this guy has put himself on the Shizer list quite a many times for certain comments he said. And
no doubt about it.
Yeah, and this is a rare time I could say I agree with him.
Yeah, you gotta. I definitely agree with him on that. So we'll see what happens there. I think this is going to be one of those stories that blows over after spring training. Maybe Judge got caught up in the moment, but the fact is, by the time first pitch is thrown now tomorrow, the Yankees will be playing their first game against the Orioles tomorrow. All will be forgotten. First time Judge hits his first bomb this spring. First time Judge rips a base hit into center field. All will be forgiven. And we'll see exactly how this season plays out because, right now the Yankees are in a similar situation to the Mets where even though the Yankees right now have to win a championship, they got to the World Series 2 years ago. That's their bar now. They need to get to that level, win the championship. And the Mets are kind of in the same boat where they really need to prove everybody wrong because the Mets could go out there and, finish 87 and 75 this year and miss the playoffs. And people are going to act like it's the end of the world if the Mets don't make the playoffs this year. Especially, because basically the rationale to that is going to be, okay, look, if we're going to have to suffer through the pain of losing two guys like Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso, who we love, you better make sure to return that to us in, in winning in 2026 now, meaning we get to the playoffs and not just get to the playoffs and get knocked out in the first round. I want to see a deep run. I want to see Bo Bichette playing for the Mets in the NLCS this year. Freddie Peralta making big pitches in big games late this year. I don't want to see this team choke down the stretch again like we've seen so many times over the last couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see this team actually get the job done, actually be right there in the thick of it, and probably, hopefully, contend for a championship. I want to see them right in the thick of there and actually be something that could potentially dethrone the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's going to be the big thing. Dodgers now going for their third straight World Series. We'll see, how that goes, at least through the NL. And all right, Dan, for obviously the NHL is still on pause. We opened the show talking about the Olympic hockey, where the U.S. Women's team won the gold medal today. And the men's team will get their shot at the gold medal game tomorrow if they win. So no NHL to really talk about in the meantime. So Dan, the only team that is playing at MSG right now is our New York Knicks, and they've been off for the last week too, as they had their NBA All-Star weekend. And it was, the All-Star weekend is kind of weird. I feel like it's not the same like it used to be. But what do you think about this fun little shooting contest they had, where the Knicks actually ended up coming away with the victory, where Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Nick Great Allen Houston got the job done, winning a shooting contest by putting up 47 points.
Well, I can tell you, I actually had to DVR this because it was at the same time. It was at the same time as like the Olympic. I think there was an Olympic hockey game going on at the same time, so I DVR'd it. But I watched it right after that game ended. I watched this. That was something. That was a fun little. It was a fun little watch. Seeing Allen Houston join in with some of the greats of today, and hopefully I'm hoping to see some of that greatness of a guy who had some great moments with the Knicks. It rubs off of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe propels them to maybe doing something the Knicks haven't done since the 1973. So that'd be kind of nice to see. It was kind of nice to see that. The game, I actually pretty much was almost sure that's kind of hours I kind of question I got back, even though I recorded the All-Star game because I was at a Daytona 500 watch party, so I watched it after, and that was hours I get back. And at this point, I feel like the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game, should be canned, and they could keep the skills competition.
Yeah, I feel like at this point I agree with you. The NBA All-Star game is such a joke. If they just went back to straight full teams, not these little stupid mini games everybody's broken up into, it really, really lame the way they did it this year. Go back to East versus West, and let's just leave it at that. And yeah, as for the skills competitions, definitely they were the highlights of it. The NBA the 3-point contest was great. The shooting contest they had was very fun to watch. The slam dunk competition was disappointing. The slam dunk contest used to be so fun, going back all the way from the late 80s up until the early 2000s. And I feel like over the last 10, 15 years, something is really missing with the NBA slam dunk contest. And I don't know. What do you think? It just wasn't that great to me. I feel like these guys aren't going all out like they used to.
Yeah, I just feel like it's just they don't have the same energy as the players back in the 90s. The NBA in the 90s is just on a different level. I showed this to my sister. I showed her a DVD, the NBA highlights reels from the 90s, the best of the 90s, and she just saw she said that is something that she had never seen before. That my sister was saying that, oh, well, you're lucky you got to see this. What was he seen? Because I mean, my sister was born in '95, so it's like I was born in '82, so I remember all those things. So I just, and I thought it was neat getting to share with her this what I got to see. That I'm lucky enough to get to see such a great era of basketball, and an era that gave us one of the greatest, not only sports video games, but one of the greatest multiplayer video games of all time, NBA Jam. I still love to take out my Sega Genesis sometimes and play some of the old games. That is one of my favorite old school video games, is NBA Jam. So that, and playing that video game just makes me remember that era of basketball. And that was just, that was just a fun era of basketball. And you knew you were watching something big when you turned on a TV and you heard John Tesh Round Ball Rock. The first thing you heard when you turned on a TV back in the day.
Yeah, well, and the slam dunk competition in general, that was big time watching. That was appointment viewing from that time period in the 90s, even in the late 80s up until, I remember Nate Robinson even doing it for the Knicks in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And, he's going over trucks and everything, and they were being real creative with it. They don't do anything like that anymore.
Yeah, it's not as fun as it is. And I actually remember all over New York seeing those jerseys were selling like hotcakes. The jersey that he was like wearing. Remember, he was like wearing it was like a green Knicks jersey, and it said Crypto Nate on the back. Those things were hot sellers, even if the Knicks weren't kind of really that great during that time. No, there was still some kind of buzz, and you were seeing those jerseys sell out. I'm sure you still see some of those jerseys at the Garden to this day. You still see some of those jerseys this day.
No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. That was big time back then with Nate Robinson getting it done. Now this year's Knicks looking to come back. They got their last game was last Wednesday. They're back at it tonight now against the Pistons. The Pistons have handed the Knicks their 2 worst losses of the year. The only 2 times the Knicks have been beat by 20 plus. Not only that, they've been beaten by the Pistons twice by 30 plus. One by 31, the other by 38. In that 118-80 loss just a couple of weeks ago. So, look, Dan, the Pistons are the top seed in the East right now. I still think overall the Knicks are better than them. But look, you got to go out there and show it tonight. This is the first game in over a week for both of these teams. It's time to go out there and show the Pistons that, okay, it's after the All-Star break. We're in the second half now. This is, we mean business right now.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a really intense stretch run. It begins tonight, and I want to see the Knicks fire on all cylinders, and I want to see them avoid burning out in the second half. I feel like they need to fire on all cylinders. This bench needs to step up when they need to come through big. Keep this team. They need to. I want to see this Knicks team stay in the game the entire time and not falter late. That fourth quarter. That's been the biggest thing that's been costing us. They can't do that.
I don't know if I agree with that, Dan, because the Knicks, when they go into the fourth quarter this year with a lead, they have only lost 1 time all year. So I think you're attributing to stuff the Knicks have done in the past to this season, where this season, when they have gone into the fourth quarter with a lead, they are like a bear trap. They don't fade late. So I think that it's about keeping that mentality up now. They've had a pretty good season so far. Obviously, we're 55 games through it right now, which is crazy that the NBA All-Star game is that late in the year too. There's not even 30 games left in the year, but it's going to be, something that the Knicks have to keep that mentality going forward. When you go into the fourth quarter with a lead, you don't let that lead go away.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I got to say, this is going to be more during the playoffs because I noticed that there's playoff games that are airing exclusively on Amazon. For heaven's sakes, no Wi-Fi outages during the Knicks playoff games. Specifically during the games I got to use Amazon to watch. No Wi-Fi outages. That's the part I hate, is that now I got to worry about Wi-Fi outages during that.
They should not be allowed to put playoff games on streaming network. It's a joke.
Yeah, exactly. It's bad enough I got to worry about cable outages, power outages, and stuff, and how I'm going to do the backup plan. Or I could go to if it's just a cable outage or something, I could just go to a bar, watch the game. Walk over to the bar, walk over, head over to Donovan's. Now the thing is, you got to worry about if there's a Wi-Fi outage. You got to hope the bar isn't having a Wi-Fi outage, and if you don't subscribe to Amazon, you got to hope the bar has an Amazon has Amazon that they're putting the game. It's gonna be a lot to freaking go through just to watch the game. Plus that, I don't condone this at all, but God forbid you try to watch the game through unofficial means. You gotta hope the Gavin Blake version of Batman doesn't show up, beat the crap out of you for pirating a Knicks playoff game, and make some basketball pun before he beats the crap out of you.
That's right, man. So, that's ridiculous that they have this on the streaming networks now. So, but good news for the Knicks tonight, though. Obviously, giant game against the Pistons. Dan, they will have OG Anunoby in tonight. It had been questionable. He's been dealing with a toe injury since they last played, and they're saying that he actually was confirmed to be in the lineup tonight. So that's definitely good news for the Knicks, because we all know they have a pretty deep team right now. But once you start losing guys and starters like OG, you could get through that depth pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. They need to OG and the bench needs to step up, probably help ease the burden off of OG and Madoni. That kid, he can he doesn't have to go full on steam and save some for the playoffs. And also I gotta say, speaking of playoffs, during the NBA playoffs, and I encourage this, Flutesy, if you're watching this, come on our show one of these days, film an intro of you playing Round Ball Rock on the flute. I just badly want to see that on our show one day.
All right. Open invite to Flutesy if Flutesy wants to come by and do that. Yeah, man, I think that's just about going to do it for us on the show today. Definitely, we got so much to, we definitely covered so much today. So congratulations to the U.S. women for their gold medal. Awesome performance by them over there in Italy. And Dan, before we get out of here, anything like to plug for yourself?
Oh, yeah. First thing first, we got to make a sort of Best Seat in the House podcast announcement. I'm going to be on camera. The camera's going to be on me. Well, not really the game. You're going to see me watching the game, and, you might hear sort of small little bits of the audio, because it's just going to be because we can't put the game on camera, but you're going to see me watching the game and talking to you guys, all the people watching during the intermissions. You're going to get to see me reacting to the game. Of course, Kramer here, unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, isn't going to be available. But we do have our good pal Stevie Lou filling in for Robert on what's going to be the first game watching episode, and you're going to get to see me react and celebrate. And I'm probably going to text you when, hopefully, if we win, if we get to the gold medal. And bear in mind, this is pending if we get to the gold medal game. But if we get to the gold medal game, this will be happening at 8:30 on the very platform you're watching the show. You'll get to see a special episode of Beast, depending what happens on the results on Friday.
That's right. So keep an eye out for that. We'll see what happens, and keep your eyes tuned to our social media. And we'll keep you updated with all the scheduling that's going on with that. And it's just about going to do it for us. So for my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. Don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. And we'll be back with you there on Sunday, one way or the other, late in the afternoon. And so we'll be back here next Thursday, like always. So for my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. Catch you next week, everybody. Have a great weekend. And USA!
USA! USA! USA! USA!